I guess this could be one time when scissors beats rock. Here's a look at the Jada toys. This is the Mega Man's Cut Man. From the groundbreaking video game Mega Man comes this iconic robot character action figure in 1/12 scale by Jada Toys. It's the robot master himself, and he's here to conquer the world. Cutman is created by Dr. Light with the ability to throw a pair of sharp-like, scissor-like blades at opponents from a distance. Cutman comes equipped with alternate hands, head accessory, and stand. The package also includes nostalgic details from the original game. He really shouldn't be running with scissors, but then again, I guess the scissors are on top of his head. Before we get a closer look at what's on his head and the rest of the figure, let's take the tape measure and see how tall Cutsman stand. I always keep calling him Cutsman, feeling the need to add an S on the end of it. Technically, it's Cutman. We're going to actually go only to the top of his head because technically the scissors are a separate piece. Cutman on his own, though, is going to stand at 4 inches in height, or about 10 centimeters tall. One of the easiest ways to beat Cutman in the game is to use the power-up that Mega Man gets after beating Fireman. So we're going to bring in him first. Then, of course, for the other figures, here's what the figure looks like with Iceman, the recently looked at Elecman, and of course Rockman himself, or Mega Man. I did do this in the other review as well when we looked at Elecman, even though technically Dr. Wily wasn't part of this wave and still continues not to be released yet. This was one we actually got from Funko, and you can see actually it says Funko on the bottom of his foot right there. And again, like, he's still pretty posable, you know, he moves everything else, and scale-wise size, he's a pretty good size, though, to be compared with him. So even if we don't get ourselves, though, a Dr. Wily yet from Jada Toys, if you can find one for a decent price, I would certainly recommend getting the one from Funko. Unlike Elecman, who was advertised with a stand and never got one, Cutman not only is advertised with one, but also comes included with a display stand, too. The stand, though, isn't so much, though, for Cutman. It's actually for the blade scissors on top of his head. Like in the game, though, Cutman actually will throw the scissor on top of his head. So you just go ahead and detach these like that. And then you take the scissors, and instead of actually putting them on the end, the slice is only big enough, in fact, to actually take the blade of the scissors, and you just sort of put them like that. Then, of course, you can just angle these accordingly. One thing, though, I do think is that the pegs, or at least the length of the neck, is way too long. I wish they could do something, take a similar page to Diamond Select, where you could actually have component pieces. So if you didn't want to have the full length like this, you would just detach one of them. And I guess you would have to take this piece and move it down below here. But in the meantime, though, you can just kind of lower it down like this and have it sort of displayed like Cutman's throwing his blade. Or, of course, for me at least, I mean, unfortunately, when he throws it, it's pretty bare on the top of his head. So I would probably be more inclined to feel just to take the scissors and leave them on top of his head. He does come with also 2 heads, and both of them have holes on the top, so you can just easily root the scissors in there. Coloring wise, though, for Cutman, he's not quite really what he looks in the game. In the game, he's actually a little bit more of a red color. But like, I do like the orange, and I think being that we already have a red character with Fireman, having him more in orange stands a little bit easier, I feel. The figure does also come include some swappable hands. Cutman already has closed fists on the ends of his, but you can also swap them out again for a relaxed palm and also sort of a gripping hand. And to change those out is super simple. Actually, in fact, I found with Cutman, his hands are very simple to remove. So you just detach them one and just plug the new one in. But you can kind of see, though, like the pegs I feel like they don't stay in there as well as really they should. You can then go ahead and take the other hand off also and just plug that new hand in place. And now you got Cutman. Not so much, I guess what you could do is sort of have the arm out like this extended. So it looks like Cutman's then throwing the blade out at Mega Man. The one last thing, though, that comes included with Cutman is an alternate head portrait. Whereas when we looked at Elecman, I feel like I kind of like the more stock, neutral head that came included with the figure before we start swapping things around. I kind of feel, though, the opposite when it comes to Cutman. He's such a cool, cocky-looking face for the alternate portrait that I think I'm going to end up swapping it out with the head that he has, or when you get him out of the packaging. Go ahead and let's just remove the scissors. Just take them off like that. Then we'll go ahead and remove his head all the way. And we'll take the new head. And, of course, there's the ball socket on the inside. We'll just plug it onto the ball joint. I'd say simple shapes, but it does require a little bit of pressure on your part. Just plug that in place. Then again, he's got the hole on the top, so we go ahead and take the scissors. I know I haven't yet even talked about this. The scissors do have some posability, so you can open and close them. Let's go ahead and just put them in his head. And you can, being based on that, you can either have the scissors closed. I prefer to have them honestly open. And that's what Cutman looks like with the alternate head portrait. One thing that's rather also interesting about this, I think Iceman is so far the only figure that has had a unique body. Electman shared the same body with Fireman, and while he doesn't share the same body with Electman, he certainly, though, does share the exact same body with Mega Man. Same arms, same torso, same, in fact, lower legs as well. I mean, if Dr. Light is building these, after all, you would think that the bots would all have similar bodies. The only other thing also different is that Cutman's got a different head from also clearly Mega Man, and he doesn't have the Mega Buster on the side of his arm either. The coloring, though, for Cutman, while again not being the most game accurate, I do really, though, like the oranges. The grays that he's got also on the sides sort of give him kind of the look of ears. Lighter color down below for the top of his torso. He's got, again, like that tang-colored orange here for his forearms, his mid-underroo area, and down below here on his legs. The only thing, though, that doesn't 100% jive is that you can see like his mid kind of waist area here, the trunks that he has, isn't nearly as bright as they are for the arms and lower legs. These seem to be the case that they've molded these in plastic. Probably seems to be the case that they've gone in here and tried to paint and match the colors. But the colors I don't feel match 100. Maybe if anything, I would say like that this part of the torso maybe is molded in the same plastic. Certainly down below, though, for the pegs, they're clearly not. He's got some decent detail on the bottoms of his feet. Places that you probably would never see anyways. Kind of, again, looks like an egg. I don't know if I would be eating an egg that's orange like this with a yellow. Well, the yolk isn't so much the issue, but an orange egg sort of has me questioning. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has tried to dye an egg using tang. If you have videos like that, don't share them with me. I don't need to see them. But if you guys did, though, certainly want to see the articulation for Cutman. Head's going to, again, be on that ball joint, so it allows the head to rotate all the way around. The head can look down and up and back and forth as well. The upper torso is going to be also on a ball joint. There is also a waist swivel there too. You can take the arms and rotate them all the way around. There also is a hinge in the shoulder. Leading in then into the elbow, there is also a hinge there. The forearm can also rotate. The hands rotate all the way around with a hinge back and forth. Legs do split out. They're on ball joints. I may have in fact said when we looked at Electman, let's not spend so much time looking at the crotch of Cutman, but I mentioned though that they probably would have used peg and hinge joints, but they seem to be using ball joints. So just scratch what I said earlier. There's a swivel there at the top of the leg, a single hinge on the knee, but I will say like the knees are super, super tight to the point where I almost feel like I didn't want to do what I just did. I've kind of just been, I don't want to be ham-handling this guy, but I certainly was spending some quality time playing around with Cutman's posability. He has certainly quite a lot of it, but I still haven't had as much of a chance to kind of loosen up the knees. The knees are one thing. If you're having a struggle, don't force it. If there feels like there's resistance, go and maybe heat this up, maybe either with a hairdryer or hot water, just to make sure that those joints don't break. The lower leg does rotate. You have an ankle pivot back and forth and an ankle rocker up and down. So collectively, with all of that going on, there's a lot of good stuff you can do when it comes to posability on these figures. You can just, again, bring those legs a little on the arched side for those feet. Bring them up like that. Bring up his arm. I mean, you can really do whatever you want. But for, again, a $20 figure, let's just assess that for the situation right now. A $20 figure released by Jada Toys, you get 2 head sculpts, you get 2 extra hands, of course, a display stand as well if you want to display the blade separately from the rest of his head. For a $20 figure, I think, again, Jada Toys is doing a great job when it comes to these figures. And, of course, speaking of those figures, let's bring in the ones we've already had a look at. There's Electman. Over here, Fireman. Don't get too close to Cutman. He doesn't like your weapon. And where is Iceman? Iceman's right over here. The only other figure that we all still have to look at when it comes to this second wave of Mega Man figures is the Hyper Bomb Mega Man. That's the weapon he acquires when he actually beats Bomb Man. Which again, like Bomb Man and Guts Man are still 2 characters. Maybe that's why I keep calling him Cuts Man. Guts Man and Cuts Man. It's actually Guts Man and Cut Man. But still, we don't have any announcements at all, as far as I know, from Jada Toys that we are, in fact, getting a Cutsman, or for that matter, that we are getting a Bomb Man. Which, again, I still feel like, and I'm probably going to mention this in the review when we look at the Hyper Bomb Mega Man, I just feel, though, that why did we fill the slot in with a variant of Mega Man, as good as it may be, when a character, even like Bomb Man, and leave maybe Gutsman as a separate possibility down the road. Bomb Man, at the very least, shouldn't have been overlooked in favor of a variant Mega Man. Again, I'm sure we'll kind of talk about all of that when we look to the review of the Hyper Bomb Mega Man. But in the meantime, though, we've got the majority, short of 2, obviously, but the majority of the level bosses. I would say certainly for the second wave, Electman and Cutman being my 2 favorite bosses from the Mega Man first Mega Man outing. I'm happy now to finally have these guys as part of my collection. They certainly have been missed when I've only really had these 2 on my display stand, the Mega Man on my shelf, and Dr. Wily, even though, again, Dr. Wily wasn't released by Jada yet. As we cut now to final looks of the Jada Toys Mega Man Cutman, I've got him currently posed as if he's throwing out this scissors blade. The blade can be attached securely onto the end of the adjustable neck, though you may want to have the neck really low like this so it actually does look like it's leaving his hand. Cutman is one of those exceptions where when he's throwing his weapon, the weapon isn't on top of his head. So you have to make, unfortunately, a sacrifice of either having him displayed with it, or if you want to have him throwing it, he's always going to unfortunately have this big, very obvious hole on the top of his head. Coloring wise, he doesn't quite match the coloring of the game, but I think what they've done instead, though, is not matching them necessarily to the colors that they look like in the levels, but rather actually giving them more a cartoon look. The Mega Man limited cartoon series was also one thing I always really liked watching because it brought back the characters and the level designs of some of the classic games. Good news, though, is if you guys are interested to get Cutman, or for that matter, any of the second wave of Jada Toys Mega Man figures, they are currently available over on Entertainment Earth for around $19.99. I say around, I mean, that's exactly the price. $19.99 or $20 on average a piece. You can click the link down below in the video description. By the way, though, that same link will also save you 10% on anything that's currently in stock over on their site. You don't really jam with Mega Man, that's okay. You can certainly use that link and use it for anything that's currently in stock. Take 10% off for me. Certainly, if you guys did enjoy the video, you can certainly hit it as well with a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Well, so far we're down 2 level bosses, having already covered Electman and the territory of Cutman, but we are now going to be looking at a leveled up Hyper Bomb Mega Man. It's going to be a variant, though, to the original Mega Man, so we'll kind of have a little more discussions going for him, but I certainly hope, though, you guys are going to be coming back for that video. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.